Hey everybody, Johnny Cage here, welcoming you back to another game review. This time we're taking a look at Zombies Ate My Neighbors, developed by LucasArts and published by Konami, released September 1993 on the Super Nintendo. In Zombies Ate My Neighbors, one or two players take on the role of Zeke and Julie as they attempt to rescue their neighbors across 48 levels, picking up a slew of different weapons and power-ups along the way to aid them in their quest to do away with every movie monster you could think of. On the title screen, you can immediately get the action going or pop in a password, which you will receive after every 4 levels, but unfortunately only provide you with the starting water gun and medkit. Also, what's up with this player select screen? Kind of a pain if you're playing with 2 players, as both players have to hit start at basically the same time, otherwise someone's going in alone. After a level title, the game drops you right into the action as you go about your goal of saving all sorts of people, from babies to cheerleaders and everything in between. You will also get points for each person you save, but those haven't really mattered since the days of Atari. You also have this handy dandy radar to help you find where each survivor is located. No reason not to keep this up at all times, as the game is about survivability after all. Just grab the people and get the hell out of there. When you rescue the last person, an exit door will suddenly appear in front of you, as long as you aren't in too tight of an area. Enter the door and that's the end of the level. You get a little rundown of each person you saved. You might also be granted extra lives or earn an extra neighbor based on your points. The monsters aren't going to make things easy for you though. If they get close to a survivor, they have no problem killing them off, and while you might think it isn't a huge deal, there are 10 of them after all. It does decrease the total number of people to save in each level after. So if one died in the previous level, then on the next level you would only have 9 to save rather than the original 10, and if all 10 are killed, it's game over. Good thing the game gives you an arsenal of just about any weapon you could think of, from legit military weapons to regular old household products. You gotta make do with what's available. There are so many of these, and some of them only appear in a few levels, so I'll just go ahead and let you know the ones I always went out of my way to pick up. The bazooka is absolutely a must-have. Not only does it have some crazy power behind it, but you can also use it to blow open doors and other barriers when you don't have a key or the time to find your way around an obstacle. Next, you got the Weed Whacker, which is meant to be used against these alien plants that can grow out of control, but man, this thing can tear up even the toughest of enemies in the game and can hold a ton of ammo. Last but certainly not least, you have the Pandora's boxes, which can usually be found in the pyramid levels. Make sure to save these up for the boss fights as they home in on enemies and dish out some serious damage. It is also worth mentioning that some weapons will work better on certain enemies, such as silverware quickly killing werewolves and the crucifix destroying vampires, weaknesses movies had established long ago, which is a nice touch. Usually in my reviews I try to touch on every level in a game, but here we have a whopping 48 of them. That would take all day basically, and to be honest, a lot of them look quite similar, with perhaps a different color palette and varying enemies to change things up a bit. So like with the weapons, I'll just mention a few of my favorites. Level 8, the Titanic Toddler, is probably the most well remembered in the game, featuring the first boss fight against a giant baby that will move about quite quickly and attempt to squirt you with their milk bottle. Seems like most people got here their first time and were met with a game over, as this baby is really on the move and hard to get a lock on. Your best bet is stocking up on monster potions beforehand and then using them quite liberally here, otherwise the bazooka and Pandora's box are good backups. Level 20 is Invasion of the Snakeoids, a favorite of mine because of the reference to the film Tremors and the graboids of the movie. I really love the sprite work here on them, and the stage is another really challenging one as you need to kill a few, which is much easier said than done to complete it. Level 32 is the Giant Ant Farm, and I just love the whole look of this level, featuring lots of ant holes you need to navigate around, hoping not to be attacked by a swarm of them, as they are easily one of the toughest baddies you'll come across in the game. There are also passwords you can pop in to take you to a few bonus levels, which seem to just be incomplete levels that made it into the final product. They are playable, but not particularly great. One standout though is this end credit stage featuring sprites of different designers that worked on the game. There is technically a stage to complete here, but it's pretty fun to just walk around the area reading the little tidbits of each person. The controls in the game are quite simple, which is super helpful for newcomers jumping right into it, having to quickly adapt to the fast-paced action. L and R will turn off and on your radar with the B button cycling through your left item, with Y performing the action, and A and X do the same for the right item. Visually, the game has a great color palette to it with above average sprite work. I really enjoyed the death animations for most of the enemies, especially the gillmen exploding into actual fish upon death, and the evil dolls that would occasionally burst into flames after a few hits, chasing after you incredibly quickly. The audio is also spot on for the game, featuring mostly upbeat tunes that would fit perfectly into a B-horror film and really help to add to the atmosphere, featuring a good variety of tracks throughout. These days you can pick up a card of this one on the SNES for around 35 American dollars. There's also a port of this on the Genesis, which can be bought for around 30 bucks. The short of it is that this is a really fun, goofy game that is best enjoyed with a second player and the understanding that it's going to be tough as nails, and if you want to see it through to the end, you're going to have to put in many hours to add this to your list of beaten games. As I mentioned, the game does have a password system, which you are going to need as you only have 3 lives, and the game isn't exactly in the habit of handing out 1-ups, though you can find them occasionally. The problem is that using a password only provides you with the starting equipment, and that's just way too little by the time you get to around level 30 or so. You are probably better off starting at an easier level, building up your items and ammo, and then storming into where you last left off, guns blazing. But perhaps you've already conquered this one and are looking for something to fill the void. Well, then step right on up to Ghoul Patrol, the not often talked about sequel to Zombies Ate My Neighbors. Both games play fairly similarly, and even feature the same protagonist, though here they have made some less than desirable changes in my opinion, with the camera zoomed in a bit, and it has gotten rid of the radar completely in favor of survivors just screaming out for help with their speech bubbles coming from their direction. You can run in the game though, and there are also controls for both jumping and sliding. It's not bad, but I can see why it isn't brought up too much, probably best to just stick with the original. I'm going to go ahead and give Zombies Ate My Neighbors 7.5 eaten neighbors out of 10. If you grew up with films like The Goonies and Monster Squad, you're probably going to really enjoy the presentation here, and it is much more fulfilling an experience if you have someone that also loves horror to play it with. It just starts to get samey and quite difficult in the second half, which can be frustrating, and is probably a game you boot up every now and again just to see if you can get further than your last attempt. Thank you everyone for watching, and if you'd like to stay posted on new game reviews as I upload them, please click the subscribe button, as well as checking out the link in the description below for my Twitch channel where I stream most days. I'll talk to you all later on.